Hi quilters and embroiderers. Today's video is on minimalist sewing supplies. So I've gone on trips before where the whole goal was to be as minimalist as possible and travel with nothing that had to do with sewing. And then I've had experiences like this where I'm leaving the country, and in this case I'm going back to the US, and I absolutely would love to have a few things with me while I travel. So I'd be interested to know in the comments below if you are a beginner sewer and you're just looking at the minimal things that you need to get started, or if you, like me, are traveling and maybe you're in an RV or something and you want to I'd just be interested to know if you're traveling and you're taking things with you, what kind of sewing supplies you are taking. Okay, now let's jump right into this.
These are the things that I think are absolutely necessary when you're sewing. First on my list would be a nice sharp set of cutting shears. I like these. They're squeeze and they have a spring action to open them back up. I also like the squeeze thread snips. These have a curved blade that curves upward when you're using it, and this can help prevent you from inadvertently cutting into your fabric when you snip your threads. I haven't shown a mat here, but a good sharp rotary cutter and a ruler are absolutely essential when you're doing quilting. This pointy little thing here is a button gauge, and I use this when I'm turning points, when I'm turning something from inside to outside. This is a needle puller, and it's great for grabbing thread when you're sewing. This gives you a better grip than you might get on your own. The next thing that I have is Elmer's washable school glue and a glue stick. When you heat set these, they'll hold for a long time and they don't gum up your machine. The other thing I like about this is that it washes right out when you drop your quilt in the laundry. An artist's paintbrush is great for cleaning up the lint on the inside of your machine. My preference on this is natural bristles. They just seem to pick up the lint better than the nylon one. For machine needles, I like a Top Stitch 90. This one is by Schmetz, and what I like about this needle is it has a large eye that is easy for a needle threader to put the hook through. I like this for all of my sewing and most of my embroidery. Another thing that I like to have with me when I'm traveling is a couple of straight edges. I picked these two rulers not because I'm working on these particular kinds of projects. I just like to have straight edges, and these work very well. For example, I'm not working on a Dresden plate, but this one is very maneuverable. I also like to have a couple of clover chalk pins in a dark and a light color. A dark and a light thread are also handy. I also like to have some needles around that are hand needles. These are good to have around if you're going to do some hand work. And I also like to have a little silicone thimble that I can use when I'm doing this kind of thing. If you're going the hand sewing route, it's also good to have some needle threaders around. I like the little bird one here. The silver one I think is a little bit fragile, and the bird one is a little bit more bulky and hard to lose. Now moving on to bobbins, those are not necessary if you're traveling and you're going to be borrowing a sewing machine from someone. I like to have some that go with my machine, and if I'm embroidering, I really like to have pre-wounds also. So you see the green ones go with the machine, and I have white pre-wounds, and I have also the darker pre-wounds. I don't use pins a lot, but I like to have them when I'm joining points together. Now when I'm traveling, some of this stuff can't go in my carry-on, but I like this little one right here. I can drop this one in my suitcase, and it has just a few things in it. It has some snips, it has a screwdriver, a thread, seam ripper, and applique scissors, and some tweezers. So it's a nice little set, and I can actually squeeze a few extra things inside it if I want to.
So last but not least, let's look at fabric. Now I would say that if you're traveling and you're visiting an area where you've never been before, that it's great to find fabric, just buy your fabric while you're there, and you can use it in something when you get home. But I also know that there are some times when you're traveling that you have downtime, and it's a nice time to sew. And so I would get something that will travel flat in a time like that. So it's nice to have a little bit of fabric and have it all, like maybe in like this in a sandwich bag. You can keep a lot of things together. This is a great way to kit your things up when you're traveling. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for more compulsive quilting and embroidery videos.